You are entering the bonus stage, a podcast produced in association with oceanofbees.com, with your host Marauder
and Phoenix923,
a podcast for all gamers,
console and PC alike.
Welcome to Bonus Stage.
Hello and welcome to Bonus Stage, a podcast produced in association with oceanofbees.com. As always, I am your host Marauder, and I am joined by three other people, Phoenix923, Lulzifuh and Jab from oceanofbees.com. And we are all here to discuss in roundtable format our thoughts on the reveal of the new Xbox One console. So, go ahead and introduce yourself, guys, for those listening.
Well, everyone knows me. I'm Phoenix923, always with Marauder.
I'm Lulzifuh. I'm just friends with Phoenix923 and Marauder. Sorry. Got the phone in my throat there.
And everyone knows Jab, your friendly neighborhood Englishman.
Yeah, we definitely want to get an Englishman's point of view on this.
Isn't this the first four-man podcast?
I believe so. We attempted one last week with Cheapy, but unfortunately your computer screwed up or something.
Yeah.
So we just made it a three-person podcast that time. But anyway.
Well, four-man, things gonna get crazy.
Yes, hopefully.
More people to the party.
All right, let's get going with what's new on oceanofbees.com so we can get to our main topic of discussion. And we have 3 new videos and 2 new blogs. So on the video side of things, they're all from Jab. Congratulations on taking up most of the front page. You are a busy, busy man.
You could say that.
We have the Inspector Online Team Fortress 2, Episode 15. Another episode where you go on and mess with people playing Team Fortress 2.
Specifically Americans this time.
Oh, good. So you probably didn't have to use the subtitles as much.
Yes. There are some quite unusual accents in there.
Probably from down south.
Yeah, I was going to say the southern part of the United States, probably. Anyway, the next video is Let's Inspect Dead Island Part 3, which is a really... it's a Let's Play style video with actually Phoenix923 and yourself in it.
It's a very special guest.
Very special.
Yep. So that was fun.
Before you go on, the next episode of Dead Island is going to be ridiculous. It's already been recorded, and it's with a rather crazy Dutch girl. So, that's nuts. That'll be in a few days.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that myself. And the newest video is the Inspector Online Black Ops 2 Episode 2. I assume Steam had a free weekend again.
It was the same free weekend as last time, I just didn't upload the second episode yet.
Oh, I see. Well, those are always fun because it's always interesting to see what 12-year-olds think makes them look and sound cool while playing a game.
12-year-olds, think you're giving them too much credit there. More like 8.
I'm aiming more in the middle of it all. It's like 8 to 15.
If you're lucky.
But they're all under the ESRB's 17 plus rating, surprisingly enough. Anyway, moving down to the blogs, we have 2 new blogs from
The Baz.
The Baz, yes. Where he reviews Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness. So, I guess if anyone's interested in reading his thoughts on those movies, check them out.
Yeah, he's taking your spot. What are you going to do about it?
You know, I just write my reviews as general, this is what I think. I've got 2 more I should probably write, but I don't know if anyone really cares my thoughts on Up on Poppy Seed Hill, or whatever that movie was called.
Your reviews are different, though. Yours are kind of, I think you should go and see this. Here's a brief explanation why. Here's a really more in-depth analysis. Probably for people who've already seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Baz seems to go into far more detail than I ever would. I'm just always scared I'm going to give away, like, plot points and things that are important. And then people are going to go see the movie, and because they read the review, they're going to assume they know everything that's going to happen in the movie. So I try to be pretty brief with the whole thing. But anyway, that's everything that is new on oceanabees.com. And of course, we're going to move on straight to our topic of discussion, which is the Xbox One. Microsoft unveiled it yesterday.
Who did they?
Oh, yes, indeed they did. Now, just to give some context into this discussion, I have owned every Microsoft console since the original Xbox, and I've loved the Xbox and the 360. So when we talk about this, I'm coming from the point of I am an Xbox supporter. So
I think pretty much everyone up to this point has been an Xbox supporter.
Like I know Phoenix doesn't own an Xbox.
Well, not owning, but I mean, if they didn't own, if people didn't own one, they'd still be.
I'll just say I did enjoy the games that I have played on one. You know, they're very fun.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, but we've all. I should say we've all.
I don't have any negative, feedback towards an Xbox.
Right. So, essentially, we've all played 360. We've all played the original Xbox. And Jab, have you played the Xbox or 360 at all?
Yes, I have. My brother owns a 360, so I play that every few weeks or so. Mostly sports games.
Well, you'll be happy to know that EA is going to pump out sports games on the Xbox One.
Woo.
Yay. Anyway, so they unveiled the system. So let's break this down into topics of discussion. First, we're going to talk about the actual look of the console itself, our thoughts on that. And so I'll start, and I think it looks like crap. I think it looks like a VCR tied with a TiVo machine. It is massively huge compared to even the original Xbox. And the fact that it comes packaged with the Kinect 2.0 sensor, whatever they want to call it, is just, it looks, I don't know, it's got no style to it. It just looks so utilitarian.
It's just a box.
It's just a box, yes, exactly.
Pretty much it.
They didn't even go to the expense of putting wood grain on the front of it to make it look all Atari 2600.
It doesn't look very sleek, does it?
No. Honestly, it looks more like the VCR to or VHS to DVD conversion boxes that you can buy. Yeah. That's at least what it looks like to me. Like those
it's
big,
kind of
huge,
awkward.
massive, awkward, cumbersome devices.
It looks like a big piece of just, living room hardware with so, slapped together.
It's like the console of the future from the 80s.
Kind of reminds me of, the old NES, how boxy that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is just nothing but a giant rectangle.
Yep. At least with SNES style.
It was like one of our friends put it, is that it was just a mash of two different things. Since one half of it is completely, polished, the other half is matte, whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the disc tray on the left is chromed, and then the right side's all matte. I don't quite understand the point of that.
Maybe for secrecy purposes, they had two different teams working on each side who weren't allowed to communicate, and then at the end they just kind of welded it together.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that would explain a lot.
Yeah, honestly, you've got one team working on the whole TV integration thing, and then you got the other people trying to make games on it, and then, they just got together one day and went, we need to present something quick. Put your system next to our system. Mm-hmm. I don't know. At least it looks well ventilated. I mean, that whole top section is essentially a vent. So,
yeah.
I guess
at least they'll be good there, hopefully. I mean, lest we forget the Red Ring of Death from the first generation Xbox 360s.
Yeah, any of the white models or any of them that aren't the Slims.
Mm-hmm.
The Slim at least put a gigantic vent on top finally to alleviate that problem.
Right.
And
do we know if this one can stand on its side?
I don't think it will, no. It looks way too heavy for that.
Unless they had...
They're going to have to reorganize their desk space.
Mm-hmm. Unless they had some massive supports for it, I think the Xbox has some, or the Xbox 360 has some, where it's big triangle wedges on either side. Kind of like how...
yeah, a lot of companies sell that kind of thing. I remember the PlayStation 2 had a really, really huge one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The PlayStation 2. Yeah.
I know the PS3 has a couple like that, and I think even the Wii has a couple like that. They can store like Wiimotes on the side and stuff. So I'm sure someone will sell something to stand it up if need be, but I don't think it's designed to do that. It certainly doesn't appear to be, because when they showed off the 360, they showed it off standing up.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, any of the 360s were always shown standing on their side, whereas this was shown set down. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to stand up, but who knows? People are dumb, so maybe people will just assume since it's Xbox, they can just put it on its side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to call Microsoft, oh, it broke.
Well, did you put it up on side? Well, there's your problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that they redesigned was the Kinect sensor. Version 2.0. It looks like a rectangle with cameras on it. So that's fine, I guess. It looks a lot thicker than the original Kinect sensor. Granted, I've never owned one.
It honestly looks a bit smaller. I don't know if that's because it's in relation to the Xbox One being so huge, but at least it looks a bit more polished than the Xbox 360 Kinect, especially with the elimination of the 3 different lenses, and it looks like they combined them into one from the images that I can see.
See, I saw 2 cameras. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just making it up, but I thought there was one on the right and one on the left.
Oh, I could be wrong.
There's just one from all the images I've seen.
Is there just the one? Maybe it was an Xbox logo on the right. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know. Honestly, I have no interest in the Kinect sensor at all, so...
It's going to read your heartbeat, can't it?
Yes, it's going to be able to read your heartbeat based on, I guess, how your body temperature is changing or something. It does not have like a heartbeat monitor on it, but it can determine, or I guess estimate what your heart rate is based on how fast you're moving and using infrared to like see your body heat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Can it determine your level
the
of
logo is
excitement?
on the right. Looking at an image.
That's what I was thinking of. Is they've got the big Xbox logo on the right. So, Okay, so it is just the one camera then.
Will it be able to tell if you're stressed out or excited while making microtransactions?
No, but I bet you anything, it'll be able to tell if you're lying, if you're saying that, no, I own this game.
Oh, no. Let's not get into that quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing they redesigned was the controller, which looks almost identical to the original 360 controller. From what I've read, the joysticks are tighter, I guess, and the D-pad is much more responsive. Granted, nobody actually played any games who were talking about this, so it's all speculation and personal opinion. Another thing they added to the controller that I actually think is kind of interesting is they added a rumble feature directly to each trigger. So not only is the controller got the left and right handle vibrators, but it also has vibration in the triggers themselves. And they said that was for stuff like driving games. I watched one video where a guy who got to test it out said that they revved an engine with it, and you could feel the resistance kind of build up.
Score 1 for arthritis.
So, I don't know, it is an interesting looking controller. It looks almost completely identical to the 360 controller, which is fine because I think the 360 controller is actually pretty good.
Honestly, it looks more like a throwback to the original Xbox controller.
Does it?
Yeah. Look up if you take a look at the Xbox controller, like the original one, it looks more like the original Xbox controller.
When they came out with the smaller one.
Yeah, it's a larger one.
Does.
Yeah, it looks more like the original big Xbox controller.
Oh, the Duke?
I think so.
No, it doesn't look anything like the Duke.
Or is it this?
No, it looks closer to the controller S.
Yeah, the controller S.
It
Sorry,
looks
I was looking at the wrong picture.
It looks like the handles on the sides are a little bit more angled out. I don't know. For all intents and purposes, though, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, more or less.
I mean, it looks a little different, but overall, I would assume it would work the same. I am interested in what that vibrating trigger thing is, though. That sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, let's talk about some of the features that they brought up in the conference, which was TV,
Quote,
TV,
unquote,
TV,
features.
TV, 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 TV.
Don't forget sports.
Oh, being able to watch sports on TV through your console, because that makes sense, I guess. And yeah, sports. And
then about another 50 more TVs.
I think. So essentially, what this thing is going to be able to do is there's an HDMI in on the back, which then feeds back out to your TV through an HDMI output, and you're going to be able to feed your cable box into it and have the Xbox One control everything, so you can control your cable box essentially with the Kinect and voice commands. Okay, I guess. I don't know. Whoop-de-doo?
Yay.
Yay.
Accomplishment, maybe? Yeah.
Just one question. Is this a game console?
You know, that is an excellent question. I am not entirely sure.
There was one Twitter thing I read where I forget who said it, but the guy posted, he's like, if you like TV, this is going to be great. If you like games, we're still waiting to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
They showed off a couple games at the conference. They showed off Forza, the new Forza game, and Call of Duty.
Well, I zone out from any games that don't have giant enemy crabs, to be honest.
Oh, man. I don't know. Okay. So now we're going to get into... Oh, it plays Blu-ray discs and everything else, so you'll be able to play your Blu-rays and DVDs on it.
So goodbye to 5-disc RPGs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get... there's a 500 gig hard drive in it, so... Although, from what I've read, it's not removable, so you can't upgrade it to a terabyte or 2 terabyte or whatever down the road. So you're pretty much stuck with that as far as I understand it. Which kind of ties into what we're actually going to talk about the majority of this time, which is the Xbox being an always-on and an always-online console.
Is it always online, though? I thought I read that you only have to be online once every 24 hours.
Now, this is... Okay, they didn't really clarify this too well, and I've read a lot of reports from Wired and The Verge and other websites. Essentially...
And the video we watched, the guy graciously dodged that question.
Yes. There was a video where Adam Sessler, as part of Revision 3 Games TV, was questioning, I forget his name, but he's the head marketer for Xbox or something like that. And he dodged that question. Essentially, what it's going to do is, in that interview, he said the system is never going to turn off. It goes into like a low power state mode, so that whenever you want it to turn on, you just say Xbox turn on or whatever, Xbox on, and it turns on through the microphone and the Kinect sensor. Oh, by the way, the Kinect sensor is required to operate the console, according to Microsoft.
Right.
So if you don't have it connected, it's not going to turn on. Which I think is something, I guess.
That means Microsoft is always watching you.
Right, which means if you're connected to the internet and it never turns off and it's always connected online, you have a camera pointed
What about
in
if you're
your
a
living
mute?
room.
Is there a power button on it?
Oh, no, I'm sure the controller can still turn it on and off, like 360. I mean, they haven't said, but I'm pretty positive they'll still do something like that. But, I don't know.
In terms of on the console, I don't know if I actually saw a physical power button.
It might be a touch-sensitive. That Xbox icon might be a touch-sensitive on button.
It might be.
I doubt it, but maybe. I don't think there is a way to turn it on. I don't see any physical buttons or anything.
Well, I bet it's a button to turn it on once, then that button becomes a sleep button.
Oh, that's a point. Well, what if you unplugged it from the wall, though?
Yeah, you could do that, but I doubt you want to get up every time you want to turn the damn thing off and unplug it.
You just put it into a power strip and you flip the power strip on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the red ring of death going to be?
It's right on the face. I'm sure they've got some kind of like alarm clock looking thing that's going to pop up that's going to give you status updates on things, like a Blu-ray player does or a DVD player does. But anyway, so it's kind of creepy. The fact that the system is always online, always on, and you've got a camera and a microphone in your house pointed at your living room or pointed at your bedroom or wherever the heck you're going to set this thing up at. Kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy or sexy?
No, definitely creepy. I don't... that's fine. I can get over that. But one thing I can't get over is what they said about the always online thing. I read an article where if your console is not connected to the internet, you cannot play your games for more than 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game will become unplayable until you connect to the internet again and verify that you have the game installed legitimately. So if
basically your $500 console becomes a brick if you don't connect it to the internet regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's that. There's also the fact that the way that games are handled, excuse me, and this is the biggest problem that I have with this console, is the fact that every single game for this thing requires two things. To be installed to the hard drive, which, like I said, is a 500 gig hard drive that cannot be upgraded. At least not, I mean, they might sell another model that has more space on it, but you can't just take the hard drive out like you can with 360 or PS3 and put in a new one.
Maybe you can stack more blocks on top of it.
Just hook an Xbox One into an Xbox One and store all your games on the second console. Yeah, but the biggest problem is that the games, when you buy them, are going to be tied to your profile. So it's a one-time activation code, and that's it. So there's going to be no used games, as we know them now. As for the used game argument, I've read that there isn't a fee. I think the Wire article came out and said there would be a fee, and then Microsoft Support's Twitter account came out and said there would not be a fee, and then somebody from Microsoft came out later and said there is going to be a fee, but there's going to be a way to sell your games. They just haven't said how yet.
Wasn't the guy that Adam Sessler interviewed quoted as saying that if you were to use it on your own profile on a different Xbox, you could still play it, but if you were to install on somebody else's account, they would obviously have to buy it, indicating that you would, in fact, have to repurchase the game if you want to install it on your own profile and or other Xbox.
Yeah, he said they're all tied to your profile, so if you go over to your friend's house, you can grab your profile from Xbox Live, same way you do it now with the 360, and you can then play the game over there. But when you leave, you take the profile with you. It kind of works the same way Steam does. Is as long as you have your Steam account, all of your games are fine. You can re-download them and play them and no problems.
But you can only be logged into one computer at a time.
Right, but you can only be logged into one at a time. Let me get the name of that guy that Adam Sessler interviewed, because he's Matt Booty, the general manager of Redmond Game Studios. And I'll leave a link to that video in the description because I find it to be a really insightful interview. Yeah, I don't know how I really feel about this. The whole no used games on the system. I mean, yeah, they're going to charge you a fee, but I don't really know how I feel about this. It's quite infuriating, actually.
Well, I do. I think it's the dumbest idea they've ever had. Well, one of the dumbest ideas they've ever had. We're talking about Microsoft, so we're also talking about Windows 8. That's another worst idea they ever had. But in terms of their game market, no, this is a terrible idea. Because if you have no way... Because, okay, the Xbox is supposed to be a game console, and the purpose of game console is to put in a game and play a game. That's supposed to be its main and primary focus. Whereas a computer can essentially do everything. It's a jack of all trades. It's meant to do that from the very beginning. I understand why they would like to do something like that for a computer, but not for a game system. I mean, the whole purpose of having the game system is to be able to have a physical copy you put in, you play, and if you didn't like the game or just don't want to have it around anymore, you could go off and sell it because, you invested the money in that. And now they're just kind of taking that away from everybody by doing this.
Well, it's also the fact that, like, people who buy consoles and game on consoles don't want to deal with a PC.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. PCs
Well, either that or they just don't have the money to buy a high-end PC.
Yeah, that as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a bit price restrictive as well, but generally, people see PCs as finicky things. One thing breaks or they install one toolbar and the whole thing's screwed up, and you got to know how to configure things and troubleshoot somewhat to be able to play on PC effectively. Whereas a console, you stick the disc in, the game loads, and you play. You've got your controller and you're done. I mean, it's very straightforward. There isn't any configuring of graphic options or control options, remapping, anything like that. What you see is what you get and you play it. That's going to be completely destroyed with this console, because if what they're saying is correct, and I go out and I buy the system and I hook it up, and then I got to hook the Connect up. Okay, now I've got to connect it to online. Okay, so I have to have internet. All right, so I'm paying for online. I bet you anything they're still going to charge for Xbox Live.
Yeah, I don't doubt it in one single bit that they would charge for Xbox Live, because they have in the past and they always will. Because they want to squeeze as much money they can out of their players.
So then I want to pay $10 a month or whatever it is for Xbox Live each month. And then you got to pay your ISP for internet, if you can even get internet where you are. I still know friends of mine who do not have internet. As a matter of fact, our friend Alex just got internet not more than a couple months ago. So, and he lives
Does he live in a cave?
No, he lives down the road from me, or like a couple streets over.
It's just that his parents, like other people, like other families, let's say, don't believe that having internet is necessary yet. Because, technically speaking, you can still get by never using the internet, like not even once. You can just live your life, however, without having to use the internet ever.
Right, it might be an expense that they're not willing to pay. But okay, let's assume you are willing to pay that. So you get internet, you get your Xbox Live Gold subscription going, then you go out and you spend $60 to $70 on a game, and then you install it. Okay, now you got to activate it. Okay, now you can never do anything with that disc again. And if your internet dies for whatever reason, there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to sit there with this brick of a console that isn't doing anything anymore. It might not even turn on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really haven't given any specifications on that, but it might not even turn on without an internet connection. So, now they have said a couple things regarding it where certain features won't be available. That's fine. I mean, obviously, if you don't have internet, you can't play online.
I believe the guy that was interviewed by, harkening back to the Adam Silster interview again, when he was asked about that particular thing, he said that some features would still be available, but seeing as how he failed to mention, single player in single player games, when he point blank asked him if he could play single player games, and he just went around and said some features will be available, I take that as a no, you won't be able to play single player games if you don't have internet.
He might not even be talking about the features of a game. He might just be talking about, like, well, as long as your cable box works, the Xbox still controls your cable box.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he might not even be mentioning the games at all in that sentence. So that's upsetting. But the biggest problem is that it's going to destroy used games. And
it's going to totally.
And, say what you want about used games, and, okay, I bought the game used and the developer didn't get any money, but when do the consumer's rights take precedence? If I buy a game or a movie or anything, I have the right to do with that game whatever I want. And if I choose to sell it to Phoenix or sell it to Lulzifuh or sell it to Jab, why should that be restricted? I don't understand that.
Because they're not getting the money, that's why.
Well, the money issues balance out with people being hesitant to buy all these new games, knowing they're not going to be able to sell them.
I read an interesting article that stated that 70% of new game sales came from used game trade-ins at GameStop.
I believe it.
So 70% of people that walk in to buy a game new use older games to gain credit towards buying the new game.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you figure it is, let's say I walked in with 2 games and GameStop's like, okay, I'll give you $20 credit. Okay, fine. I'll take that game. I still got to pay the $40 over.
Yeah, exactly.
And the developer or the publisher or whatever still gets their fair share. I mean, GameStop, regardless of how much credit I have built up, still has to pay that company X amount of dollars when they sell that game. So let's say they make $10 on every game sold. They still get their $10. It doesn't matter how I got the money for it, I got the money for it. It's just like a pawn shop. GameStop's willing to give me X amount for my games in exchange for something else.
It's just a trend. A lot of businesses these days want to have complete control over the distribution of all their products.
Well, I think they're trying to. I think they're trying to get it down to the same kind of structure that the mobile market has, where you buy an app and that's it. It downloads and it's on your device, whatever, and you're done. But the problem that they don't understand is you're spending $1, $2, maybe more on these downloadable games and downloadable applications, whereas if you buy a AAA console title for 60 to God knows if they put out a collector's edition, $120.
150.
Yeah, or more. I mean, it could go all the way up to $200. I've seen some go for. Is that worth it to you? I don't know. It's not the same market. They're trying to force one structure into a market that's not designed for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, on top of that, the whole reason that, say, Steam, for instance, has it where you have an activation key, and that activation key is tied to your account, and only you can use that game. So you own that game. You can't resell it. The reason they have that in play is because it's a PC game. And like I said before, PCs are capable of doing anything, including breaking security codes or security locks or DRM measures that they have like installed onto the disk. Like that can be cracked, hacked, and broken in a matter of days if you know what you're doing. Whereas if you have, your account, it's tied to that account and nobody else can get into it or copy it. And the only way that you can get to it is by having the activation code in your account. That makes sense for PC because it can do anything. It doesn't make sense for a console because they don't have that capability. I mean, it's just supposed to be for playing games, like I said. It shouldn't need to have that option.
Well, also you look into the point of comparing PCs to consoles. PCs have, besides Windows 8 and Macintosh, but at least, Windows 7 and before, have been a really open platform for development. Anybody can get on and make something and they're done. Consoles are very closed off. Mm-hmm. And you can see exactly this kind of problem with Microsoft releasing Windows 8 as a closed platform. Mm-hmm. And how just what a ton of money they lost on that was. I mean, what did you say, like 1.5 billion or something like that?
That's what I heard. I don't know if that's 100% certain, though. That's what was going around, though.
Well, they certainly took a bath on it, for sure.
Yeah, they took a bath on it, for sure.
So, that's the advantage of a console, is you put the game in and the game works. A PC, you have to install the game, configure the various options, and so on and so forth. and then figure out if you even have the correct setup to play the game, if your CPU is powerful enough, your GPU is powerful enough, and so on. Whereas a console, if that box, says Xbox 360, and you put it in a 360, it's going to work. Well, I've read actually some games not working, but it's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, and even then, with console games, all they have to do is just release a small patch, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PCs have patches too, but they have to also, be able to develop for 100,000 different configurations of PC.
Yeah, like different brands, different types of video cards, RAMs, CPUs, motherboards, what have you. Whereas, like you said, the console is just one standard option. It's just one standard option. Like, it has all the same parts, and all I have to worry about is software. That's it.
They're blurring the line between what is a PC and what is a console, but the problem is that they're taking all the worst parts of the PC and they're moving it over to the console space.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is an example, but the parents buy their kid an Xbox. It used to be you buy a console. Let's go back to the NES, Super Nintendo kind of thing. You plug the power in, you plug the video cable in, you put the game in, you put the controller in, and you turn it on. That is all you have to do. Now, even on the 360, it was like, okay, you have to set up a profile, then you have to set up internet connection, if that's applicable, then you put the game in. But it still just works. If the game needs updated, the console pops up and goes, this needs an update, okay, good, go. And it just does it, and the game starts. But now you have to set up, the Kinect sensor, the system, the controllers, set up the profiles, activate the games, get everything hooked up and running. Hell, you got to plug your cable box into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
because of course TV.
Right, TV. Now that's one thing about their conference that pissed me off was they didn't talk about games for more than like 10 minutes of their 1 hour long presentation. The rest of it was just how great this is going to make television.
Mm-hmm. How can overlay on top of television, have an interface for television, watch ESPN on, your Xbox One.
It just, I don't know. As far as a device goes, it's pretty interesting, some of the things it wants to do, but as a game console, it falls completely flat.
Yeah.
If they had many more hoops for you to jump through just to play a game, it's probably going to be more convenient just to go on Steam on a PC eventually.
Oh, I'm sure they're selling tons of PCs now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people are looking at this and just being like, I better just buy a PC.
No. I bet you think Wii U sales is going to jump.
Well, both Nintendo and Sony stocks jumped after that conference.
Yeah, they jumped, I think, 9 points.
Oh, Nintendo's as well?
Yeah.
Nintendo's
as well.
jumped and Sony's jumped. Now bringing up Sony did state that the PS4 has used game measures in it, but it's up to the developers whether or not they want to utilize it. So they haven't said what that is yet, and they're probably going to talk a little bit about it at E3 or maybe avoid the problem altogether. Although, given the fact of how bad this backlash is going to be with Microsoft, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony just drops that whole thing altogether and says, okay, used games are fine on our system.
Yeah.
That's all they have to do.
Right, they would win.
If they want to win. That's all they have to do.
Now, I think that's why I like the Nintendo Wii U so much. Is it's very much a console. You put the game in, and the game starts, and you play the game, and that's it. The whole system is not bogged down with useless social networking apps, useless streaming apps. I mean, it's all there for you, but it doesn't get in the way.
But you don't need it to play your games.
But if I decided to take it to, I don't know, one of your guys' house, and we didn't hook it up to the internet, we could still play our games.
Mm-hmm.
I could still let you borrow one of my Wii U games, or hell, one of my Wii games, since it's backwards compatible. And, it works perfectly fine. So, it'd be interesting to see what Sony's going to do in response to this. I wouldn't be surprised if they just dropped the whole DRM thing altogether on used games and just welcomed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I have to say about the Sony conference was they talked about games. They sat back and they were like, here's the games we have. This is the games. This is the games. An interesting article I read as well from Microsoft was, I forget who was interviewing or where I read this because I've read so much, but the guy at Microsoft was asked, what about the core gamers when it comes to this system? What are you going to do for them, or what is it that they should be excited about? And he said, well, the core gamers are obviously a group that we would like to include. And I thought that was an interesting statement. So
basically, they're there.
So you
Right.
want to
Mhm.
include the
Gotta cater
people
to
that
them.
you actually built this damn thing for, but, okay, fine, don't.
It's just kind of an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
We might as well just start calling this the Xbox DVR, honestly.
Oh, yeah, and apparently it has DVR functionality as well.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah.
so on top of storing your games, you can also store your TV shows, which is going to be taking up your space.
Yeah, so you can dedicate... Maybe they'll have some way to dedicate, like, I want 100 gigs to just recording television.
Here's an idea. Why don't they bring back the Duke-sized controller and have a hard drive inside there?
That I wouldn't be surprised if they did what the Wii U can do, where you can just plug in like storage devices and expand your memory that way. But the difference is that the Wii U's internal memory is 32 gigs of flash, whereas the Xbox is, I'm assuming, going to have a 500 gig SATA drive. I would be surprised if it had a solid state drive.
Mm-hmm.
So if that breaks, you're just SOL.
Yep.
There's no way to take it out. Well, I'm sure you can disassemble the system, get to it, but there's no way for the novice person to go, oh, I just unscrew this door, pull this out, and put a new one in.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Best Buy or something and buy a new 500 gigabyte Xbox One hard drive and put it in there.
Right. And of course,
you'd be voiding your warranty doing that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, even with people who can do that, are going to have to wait at least, a year before they can actually do that, because they'd void their warranty otherwise.
Exactly. So, I guess we'll just say our final thoughts here, but I think Microsoft significantly dropped the ball on this one. They didn't talk about any games. I mean, they mentioned a couple games coming down the pipeline and the fact that they have a couple exclusives coming, but the fact that they restrict the consumer so much on this system and make it so complicated, or at least a lot more complicated than the 360 was, is defeating the purpose of a console in my mind. I remember a story, or this actually happened, was my internet, when we first got Uverse hooked up in here, which is an AT&T thing, for 2 weeks straight, the internet would just kill itself. 2 weeks absolutely straight. Every night at midnight I'd be up doing homework, and it would just die. Now, on my laptop, when I'm trying to do, research and stuff online, that's a problem. And so I would spend the next hour on tech support with AT&T trying to get the thing rebooted. Even now, our internet is not very stable. I mean, it's better than it was, but I can't guarantee it's going to be here tomorrow. Something might break, some circuitry might blow, who knows? And then you gotta wait a couple days for the tech support to get out there to fix whatever broke. Until we have 100% reliable internet connection for everybody.
Well, 100% reliable broadband connection for everybody.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
yes. Broadband, high-speed internet. You cannot do a console like this. PCs are one thing. PCs are an entirely different space, because the people that buy games on PC accept that as an inevitability, but they accept it because they're getting the game for $2.50. You know, they go on Steam and they buy games at a fraction of what they cost on console.
Mm-hmm. Even brand new.
Yeah, even brand new. PC games are cheaper. If you look at any PC game released with a console port, the console port is $60 and the PC version's $50
Or 40.
or 40.
If you just wait a year with your PC games, you can get everything at worst 25% of what you would have been paying.
Yeah, and there's tons of places, tons of outlets to get the games at. There's Amazon that sells you downloads, GameFly, Steam, Green Man Gaming, or no, they do.
Yeah.
Well, they give you coupons for stuff.
But still, you're still getting the Steam copy
Right.
through them as well.
There's good old games. I mean, there are a lot of outlets to get cheap PC games that the console people don't have the option of doing. So what do they have the option of? Buying used games. You take that away from them, and you're just going to... You're causing more trouble than you're trying to solve. And I understand what this is. It's nothing more than the shareholders of Microsoft, the shareholders of EA or whatever, sitting around and going, we have to squash this used game market because we're not making the money on the used game sale. But what they don't realize is the people that trade in that used game buy the new game 70% of the time. If that one article is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
By the way,
I think it's actually higher, personally, but...
Something you were just talking about, I just read that Microsoft confirmed that HDD size can be increased by the use of external USB storage devices.
Okay, so they are going to do the Wii thing, but that internal one will break.
Yeah, but it does say that one's not replaceable.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's the problem. The 360 and the PS3, you could swap them in and out. Hell, that was a big selling point of the original 360, the white one. The fact that the hard drive was just cradled on top. And the whole idea was you could disconnect that, take it to your friend's house, put it in his system, and get all of your content.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just another restriction. And since they're using Blu-ray to distribute the games physically, let's assume each game is 20 gigabytes. I mean, that's low for a Blu-ray, but let's assume 20 gigabytes. 500 gigs goes by really quickly. And if you're also supposed to be storing your DVR content, and who knows what else you're downloading, movies, games, music, and whatever else on Xbox
Copy
Live.
of save files.
Yeah, well...
Whatever streaming content you're going to be giving out.
Save files, expansion packs, anything else. I mean, that 500 gigs is not going to go far, and the fact that you can't replace the hard drive is pretty annoying to me. So, you know, I really think Microsoft dropped the ball on this one. I really don't think that they understand their consumer base. I think they're just too blind with greed. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the way they figure they're going to recover from Windows 8 being such a horrible, horrible failure.
Mm-hmm.
8 years of research have told them that people like to watch TV.
On their game console.
Yep, on their game console.
I'm not surprised at that, though, because Netflix was rated the #1 use on consoles. Like, people used it, their PS3s, their Wiis, and their Xboxes, more to watch Netflix than they did to play the games. But the other thing that people don't understand is that television and Netflix and streaming and all that is a very passive experience. You can sit down and just veg out in front of the TV and watch whatever and then not even realize you just watched it. Whereas a game is very interactive, it's very... I hate to use the word immersion, but it pulls you into this thing and gets you involved. And so it's a lot more... I guess it uses more of the brain to comprehend the game than it would be a video, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. You're much more mentally involved in a game than you would. You're much more involved in a game than you ever would be in a show.
Right. So you can sit and veg out and watch a show, but you can't do this. You can't do that same thing playing a game. And I've had that happen where I get home from work and I am so tired. I don't want to play a game. I just want to watch TV.
Even if people have been watching TV through their Xboxes, they don't own it because it can do that. That's not why they bought it.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the market they're trying to appeal to now, and then the games are just an added bonus, that seems kind of backwards.
Oh, an interesting fact as well is AT&T Uverse allows you to use your Xbox as a receiver. So there is an app you can download if they give you the code for it off the Xbox Live Marketplace to turn the 360 into a cable box. So, I mean, it has been rolled out already to an extent that TV and games are kind of going into the same box here. But I don't think people want all that in one box yet. And I certainly don't think that doing it this way is the right way to go about it.
No, it's definitely not.
You know, there's a lot of like really snarky comments going around the internet, but I think most of them are true. They're doing a great job selling PlayStations. Nintendo is going to be in great shape come Christmas because people are going to read about this Xbox and not want it, especially since it's not even backwards compatible.
Yep.
So there's less reason for the 360 owners to migrate over.
Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm calling it now. If they don't change anything about what they said about their console, they're not going to last. They're going to go belly up, or at least fall last place in terms of console sales. Because I and a lot of other, core market gamers, like the ones that they're supposed to be targeting, can forgive a lot. At least I can forgive a lot. I can forgive no backwards compatibility. I can also forgive not being able to replace the internal hard drive. What I cannot forgive is the fact that they're completely eliminating having used game sales, and the fact that the system will always have to be online in order to play any type of game. Well, at least that's what it seems like they're going to be doing.
Yep. I can forgive backwards compatibility because I bought a PS3. Even after they got rid of the PS2 and PS1 backwards compatibility, because okay, fine, whatever. It still plays PS3 games and Blu-rays. I'm okay with that. And the Xbox, I forgave that the original Xbox wasn't backwards compatible, at least not 100%. So that's fine. Backwards compatibility, not really a huge issue, but the fact that you can't take out that hard drive is really upsetting. At least to me. Because if that's the crutch of the whole system and that goes...
Yeah, but again, if it's out of warranty or if it's under warranty, that can still be replaced.
I know, but it's not as simple of an operation as it was.
Right.
I also, because...
Well, I mean, look at the original Xbox. The original Xbox didn't have an easily replaceable hard drive either. Yet people didn't have a problem with that.
That's true, but back then it wasn't used for more than just storing game saves.
I know, but still, the same point still stands. If it went, you would have to open it up to to replace it with a new one, and even then, you'd have to worry about getting flagged on Xbox Live for having a modded console if you did it yourself.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose that's not really a huge issue. I just kind of liked it how on the PS3 and the 360 you could buy a bigger hard drive. You could buy another hard drive.
Yeah,
it was a nice thing to have.
Yeah, like I said, I can still kind of forgive him for that. Like, it's a bummer that you're not going to be able to do it, and even though you technically can, it's just going to be a lot harder to do. I can still see why they would want to do it that way, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, because I'm just thinking, like, when I bought my Xbox 360 Slim, I bought the 4 gig base model, and then I bought a 320 gig hard drive later and threw it in there. And now I'm perfectly set with that kind of thing.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I guess it is something I can overlook, because you are right, the original Xbox did have the same kind of thing. But knowing Microsoft with the Xbox One, they're going to solder that cable to that drive, and you're never going to get it off. They're gonna super glue it or epoxy it together so that it doesn't ever come off.
Yeah, there's always ways to get it back off. When it comes to modding, there's always a way.
So, as a last note, I really think this is the end of Microsoft as a console maker. I would be very, very shocked if they survive this console generation with this machine, if they keep things the way they are. Because the people who want the games aren't going to put up with this crap. The core gaming market knows this kind of thing, and I don't think they're going to put up with it.
Nope.
People don't like change, and it seems like they've made a lot of changes, none of which seem to be optional.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Windows 8. Look how well that worked out for them.
Yep. Like I said before, they're changing too much too soon. I mean, the people who are going to buy this thing are going to be multimedia nut jobs who like watching lots of movies, but what they're not going to do is they're not going to buy lots of games for it. And so you're going to sell, 10 million Xboxes, but only a couple, million games. And I also want to bring up before we end the fact that they have the Azure Cloud Computing Service, which they said is going to be able to handle some of the computations that the system in order to make the game run smoother. Well, fantastic. In years down the road, when you shut those off, does that make my console a complete waste and brick? I mean, yeah, okay, I spend a lot of money on my 360, but if 10 years from now I decide to plug it in, it's going to work. Is that going to be the same with this one? 10 years down the road, you shut the servers off that do the Azure computations in the cloud. Can I still play my games?
Yeah, probably. They'll just lag.
Be like trying to play Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I need to get that HD collection on PS3 and play it lag-free.
Yeah, it's so much nicer on the PS3.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, graphically, from what EA showed, did anyone else watch the EA video? Oh, we all watched it together, but
yeah,
EA showed off those games. They looked horrible.
Mm-hmm. The videos I showed for the EA games didn't look like next gen. It looked like current gen, honestly. It didn't look any different from what they have currently available.
Well, to me, it kind of looked like they were sliding back to previous gen too.
Yeah, a bit then too. Like when I say this gen, I mean like release date first gen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or this gen, I mean.
Yeah, the video didn't look much better than what the 360 and PS3 are already capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So, woo, I guess. They showed off that one Remedy game, Quantum Break or whatever that was called, which the trailer didn't tell you anything.
Well, it didn't show any gameplay. I'm pretty sure that whole bridge destruction thing was just a pre-rendered cutscene anyway.
Yeah, most likely.
Right.
Because they just announced, videos they're showing, but they never actually said in-game. With the exception of, what was it? There was one game that said was in-game. Oh, right.
The Forza.
Forza. Forza was in-game.
Well, wasn't Call of Duty?
And Call of Duty also was in-game, yeah.
By the way, that was an interesting way to end the conference, was they showed the Call of Duty Ghost trailer or whatever, and then they were like, and then it just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
The whole conference just ended.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming, goodbye, just ended.
Yeah, no, like, we'll see you at E3 with more information. We're excited about what this is going to bring. Nope, just done. We're done. Shut everything off and go home.
Yep. Pretty much it.
I don't know.
But Call of Duty has a dog now.
Yeah. You're right. It does have a dog.
Your console, your series is going to get stale when the biggest feature you have is, we have a dog now!
They
We
should
modeled
have
off
named
of
it Poochie.
we modeled off of a real dog and took all the pictures of the dog to make it have the same type of fur and scars and the same tattoo. It's like a real dog. Good for you.
Nobody cares. It's like Fable 2. We added a dog. You know what people thought about the dog? The dog's annoying. It won't stop following me. So I hope that they, take in the feedback they're getting from the various news outlets and the gamers and the Twitter feeds and the Facebook posts and all that stuff, and redesign this console. Rethink what they're about to do, because if they go through with it, Sony is going to sell a lot of PS4s.
Oh, will they? Sony and Nintendo.
And I would not be surprised if after this Sony looks at it and says, okay, we're dropping all DRM on used games. Like, we're just done. Because the developers can talk up how much they have in terms of support for Microsoft, but if Microsoft doesn't sell the consoles, it's not going to matter how much money Microsoft pays EA. EA is not going to make their money back publishing games on a system that only sold a quarter the number of the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Hopefully Microsoft will see their problems before they, come crashing down on them when they release the console.
Yeah, I don't think they will. They seem like a stubborn company.
Yeah, it's true.
Ever since Bill Gates left the company, they really have been going downhill in a lot of ways.
Well, since then they've been mostly focusing on how do we gain money instead of, the consumer matters, like what Bill Gates thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's just like any kind of customer service job. If you treat the customer like crap, they're not going to come back, and you're not going to have a job.
Yep.
It's a fine line between, catering to your shareholders and catering to your customers. And I think in this instance, it is way, way to the left in favor of the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of customers... I'm sure there will be people that will buy this thing. I'm positive there are people who are going to buy this thing, and then they're going to stand up and declare that they are the better of everyone else, just like every console generation. But I like to
call the people who buy this system simple and soft-headed.
Yep. But I can stand up and say I bought my Wii U and I'm happy because it's a gaming console.
How long after release do you think there'll be a YouTube video of someone smashing one of these?
Oh, I think there will be tons.
Probably release day.
Yeah, release day. There will be hundreds of them.
Just
so many golf clubs ruined.
Not the golf club. No! Do you have any idea how much that costs?
I think Microsoft had a really good run with consoles. I preferred the original Xbox over the GameCube and PS2 back when that was out. And the 360 is a really nice machine once they figured out how to stop it from melting.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's done. I'm not going to buy this console, not if they go forward with what we're talking about. Because I still have some respect for myself as a person. And
even after the Vita?
Well, the PlayStation Vita, the only problem with that is that it doesn't have games, and they're working on fixing that.
Plus, he pretty much got the Vita for free anyways, so...
Oh yeah, no, I got that for free, so I'm not arguing. But I think if someone gave me an Xbox One for free, I'd still be complaining.
You'd hang on to it?
Well, I'd sell it, and then I would just complain more about what we just talked about.
Yeah, that's true.
Then just go and sit among your Dreamcasts.
That's an interesting point, the Dreamcast, that the system came out with built-in internet and built-in online when not a lot of people had internet or the capability of getting online. And look where they ended up. You can be as forward-thinking as you want to be, but if they're not ready for it, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Here's hoping. Anyway, Is that all of our thoughts on the Xbox conference?
Should be.
So, I am just completely underwhelmed. I am actually shocked at how much I hated that conference.
I think everyone who watched that conference, who was in the gamer or in the core market for gamers, was also sharing your lividness.
And who else is going to watch it, honestly?
Exactly.
I just remember that one point in the conference when he actually kept talking about TV and people just stopped clapping. Like all the cheering and clapping just kind of died out.
Wasn't there that one awkward pause that after he said something that should have sounded amazing, that would have had an audience cheer, it just didn't come?
Yeah, he paused for he said something, I can't remember exactly what, something about the TV functionality, and then he paused for applause that never came, and so a couple seconds later, with this awkward silence, he kept talking.
Was that his Ridge Racer moment?
Yes, I have to go find that moment and just, I don't know. You gotta see it, it's hilarious. Anyway, alright, well, here's hoping that they take the responses to heart and actually fix everything that's going to be wrong with the system.
He's hoping.
They won't, but at least we can say we tried. Until then, there's always the Wii U,
Yes, there is that.
which has announced a bunch of really good games coming out in the next couple months, so I think I'm going to be pretty happy with it.
And I'll have to purchase one coming up soon.
Pikmin 3 in August.
Heck yeah.
They may make some changes, because I happen to know that several high-powered Microsoft executives are big fans of oceanofbees.com.
Yeah, if the people who listen to this know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who delivers mail to Microsoft, just kind of drop a little thing in the mailbox. Alright, well, that's going to wrap up our Xbox special. We're going to skip all the other segments we usually do and just call it a day because I wanted to get this out right away with our initial thoughts and impressions. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little talk about the Xbox One. Share any of your questions and comments in the comment section below, and maybe we'll touch on them in future episodes. Until then, I will catch you later, and this has been Marauder with my friends
Phoenix923.
Yep, with my friends Phoenix, Lulzifuh, and Jab from MotionReviews.com, and we'll catch you guys on the next bonus stage.
Ta-ta!
Later.